Joining me now is John Kalachi, and John is a cancer survivor. John, great to have you here.
Thank you.
All right, and I hope I pronounced your name correctly, Tony Codispoti.
Right.
And
good.
you are, your husband has cancer, and but you're also the founder of the Colorectal and Cancer Resource and Action Network. And we're going to talk a little bit to both of you about your stories. And John, if I may, I'm going to start with you.
Sure.
Tell us a little. You have colorectal cancer.
That's correct.
All right, tell us a little bit about your experience.
Well, I was re-diagnosed with a reoccurrence of colorectal cancer in March of this year. So since then, I've gone back onto chemotherapy. I was prescribed a drug called Avastin by my doctor. Unfortunately, it's not funded in Ontario. So I was
So your doctor prescribed a drug to you that is not funded in Ontario.
part of the protocol. It's a FOLFIRI Avastin. So part of it is a chemo drug, and the other part of it is a biological drug called Avastin. Now, he made me aware of it, and if I wanted it included in my treatments, I would have to pay $3,000 for each injection of the drug.
$3,000.
That would be every 2 weeks. So
And this is a Cancer Care Ontario recommended
that's right.
drug.
That's correct.
And is this drug used in other provinces in Canada?
Yes, indeed. It's fully funded in the province of British Columbia.
So what did you do? I mean, you must have been devastated.
It's a huge financial cost. So I was told it would make some difference, so I just went ahead with the normal drugs that were funded by the province. And I was told in July of this year that my disease is progressing.
I mean, in this day and age, I just can't believe that that's what's happening.
Well, that's what happened. So basically,
But you had heard of an alternative.
yes, yeah. So I basically am now going to Amherst, New York each week.
And are you paying for that?
No, that's covered by out-of-the-country coverage, and the drug is Erbitux. So I'm making a weekly visit to the U.S., and I get infused by the doctors there with this drug called Erbitux.
So you can go to New York State, and,
That's right.
and Ontario will pay.
Provided you're not responding to the treatment that you were getting here by the drugs that are funded. That's correct.
That's astounding. Now, how did you meet Tony?
Well, I met Tony on my first visit to get my treatments. I had a gentleman that was sitting across from me who's also a cancer patient who was getting his treatment, who's a member of CCRAN. So we got to talking, and I found out about CCRAN, and now I'm also a member of CCRAN.
Tony, let's talk a little bit about your organization. If I may, I'd like to start out by talking about your husband. He was sort of the catalyst that got this going.
Right. In 2004, my husband had the drug he was on was no longer working, so it was recommended that he needed to access this new drug, and it's a targeted therapy drug. These are the new drugs that are being made through all the research that they do are target specific to the tumors. So it doesn't affect your immune system.
Right.
And they're wonderful drugs. But unfortunately, wasn't available in Ontario. So we were told that if we needed to access the drug, we needed to either go to the States or in Italy. And so it was cheaper to go to Italy. So we did. And that's where the journey starts. And that's when I discovered that, according to statistics, which and personal experience, Ontario has one of the worst records for cancer patients when they need these new intravenous drugs. My husband was diagnosed 7 years ago, and he's been a stage 4 for 7 years. And at the time, 7 years ago, he was told to put his affairs in order.
7 years ago?
Yes, 7 years ago.
That's
he was
amazing.
told. And we refused to accept the fact that there was nothing that he could do. And we were fortunate enough to have being referred to doctors that offered us hope. So, and today, my husband is still working and undergoing therapy.
What is the cost? What was the cost to you of the drugs that you got in Italy?
Well, We have dual citizenship.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So basically the cost was the travel there and the expense of being there, and we had to go into our retirement savings funds to do that.
So tell me
So
about
we were there for 3 months.
So tell me about the network that you founded.
So when we came back, we found there was a need out there. There were other colorectal patients who were experiencing the same problems. So a group of us got together and started this colorectal cancer resource and action network. And the purpose was to get together and share experiences, ideas, find out what works, what doesn't work, what needed to be done in order to do that.
Is this unique to colorectal cancer, the cancer drugs for this type of cancer, or is it for several?
No, it's not just unique to colorectal cancer, and that's what led us a year and a half later to start the Ontario Citizens Cancer Coalition, because it's not unique to colorectal. There are many other cancers which need these new targeted therapy drugs, and the drugs are not being made available, and that's why we are where we are today. So basically, lack of funding for these new drugs, lack of funding for PET scans. PET scans are...
What's a PET scan?
A PET scan is a radioactive image of the body, and it allows a better way of reoccurrence of cancer, of diagnosing for better reoccurrence of cancer. And if a reoccurrence is diagnosed early enough, it can be cured. So that's why... So
anybody can have a PET scan in Ontario, right?
Well, no.
If you need it, it must be available.
No, it's available in a private clinic. My husband needed one, and we paid $2,350 to have the PET scan done in a private clinic.
When you tell people this story, they must be astounded if they haven't actually had an experience with the health system in Ontario.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, and we have about 47 people that belong to our CCRAN group. Not all of them come out, but we have a woman as far away as Saskatchewan in our group, and we communicate through, because we've set up a website, and so that we communicate through the website with these people. And we share our experiences, and we print these on our website. People can go in there and find out what the different patients are doing, and they learn from it. And then they're taking that information and presenting it to the doctors. And it's not until you do that that some doctors will say, you know what, yeah, you know what, you're right. You can. They can't volunteer because their hands are tied too, because the drugs are not being made available.
So you have to advocate for yourself, or someone has to advocate for you.
Exactly.
John, what was that like for you? I mean, did you have someone to advocate for you? How did you get the information that you needed?
I was really lucky because it just so happened, it's just timing. I got to know CCRAN right at the time of my reoccurrence, right at the time of my first treatment back after a number of years being cancer-free, and it was wonderful because I was surrounded by a lot of knowledgeable people within our group. It was amazing.
And certainly knowledge is power.
Yes, absolutely.
So is that what you get from being part of the network?
Yes.
Is the information, the support?
Absolutely.
Were you surprised as a cancer patient that you were expected to pay for these drugs?
The funny thing was, in the beginning, my health card was perfect because I needed surgery, and it was wonderful. But what I learned later was the way the system is set up now, you actually need a credit card, because that's the only way you're going to be able to get accessibility to the drugs that you need to fight your disease.
Something that I just can't believe we don't have it. As I said, I found your website so enlightening. We put the website address up on the screen. We've got to go to a break. I hope you'll both stay here. We're going to bring Laura McIntosh back on the set, and we want to talk about some of the political roles that you've taken and how you're helping to make this an issue in this provincial election. We're going to be right back after this break.